Hello and welcome back to Effin' Fridays with Francine. It's actually Effin' Saturday right now. Today is May 16th, and we have been off the air for a while. Um, it's been a it's been a long couple of months, but it's been a good couple of months. And I just wanted to get back on here because I'm going to start dropping episodes that were recorded back in January um, with some of the amazing guests that I've had the privilege of talking to. And if you follow me on social or you're in my newsletter, you know that back in February 11th to be exact, 2 days after my birthday, um, I slipped and fell on black ice and had to make some decisions to make some shifts and some changes to what I was doing. Um, the good news is I was fortunate. There was no surgery, just a few months of occupational therapy. I actually didn't even have to wear a sling, which was good news, bad news, because the good news was I didn't have to wear a sling. The bad news was I couldn't push, pull, twist, turn, lift, or really do anything with my arm. And because I wasn't in a sling, it wasn't always so easy to remember that. But I did make some choices to limit some of my work, being what's involved in dropping the podcast. Recording it's easy, right? I just sit here and talk, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens that I need to use and of course it was my right arm. And I need to use my arm for the mouse and typing. And so I cut back on dropping the podcasts as well as my newsletters because I just needed to uh, to heal, and healing takes time. And um, I, the day before I fell, I had just booked a surgery for my knee. Again, if you've been following me, I had knee replacement surgery in October of 2024 and never got full range of motion back on my knee. In September of 25, I had a procedure called a manipulation, and it sounds just as scary as it is. They basically put me under anesthesia and just bent the shit out of my knee. And while that gave me some relief, I lost range of motion again. So 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, actually now, it was 4 weeks yesterday, they went in and arthroscopically, how do you pronounce that word? Arthroscopically, they went in and removed scar tissue. And then I had to spend the next 3 weeks basically on my back in a machine that slowly moved my knee for 8 to 10 hours a day. So this past week was really my first full week back to work, what I would call full time, sitting at my desk and not laying on my back watching some really bad trash TV. Um, so I've done a lot of healing. I mean, I've done a lot of healing over the last couple of years because I had the knee done, and the year before I had the knee done, I had the hip done. So there's been a lot of physical healing work. And there, a lot of that is related to what's going on internally, right? All this external parts and pieces is related to what's going on internally. I've spent most of my life just bracing for what's next. What do I have to fix? What do I have to be prepared for? And in doing that, it has affected my body physically. My body is in this constant state of being braced. While I have done a lot of work to work on that, there's still some parts and pieces that feel braced. Um, so I want to just kind of share what has been coming up over this whole experience for me. Um, My word of the year, I guess words of the year, because I think they have to go together. My word of the year um, is surrender, but with surrender comes trust. And I'm still in the practice of, we're into May. It's May, and I'm still in the practice of it. I had a conversation this week and I was frustrated because I'm like, I have this expectation that surrender should feel euphoric. It should feel like nirvana, like the clouds open and the angels start singing and I'm in this place. And that's just not what surrender looks like. Somebody said to me, well, you spent 3 weeks on the sofa. Isn't that surrender? And I said, yeah, but that felt forced. It felt like I didn't really have a choice. While I did it, and I did it with very little effort, where the older version of me would have been kicking and screaming and trying to figure out how to work and all the things, it really was a lesson in how I have gotten to learn to surrender. Yesterday, I spent quite a few hours in the morning journaling and meditating and kind of thinking about what's next in my business and doing some planning, but being quiet. And what I noticed in that time was the stillness that I felt, was the quietness that was happening inside. And it was so subtle that I almost didn't recognize it. But what I did recognize was that there wasn't this internal voice of, I have to go do something. I'm wasting time sitting here for so long. And that's when I realized that's the true surrender. It's subtle, it's quiet. It isn't the angels singing my name. As much as I really think that would be so cool, and maybe someday it'll happen. But right now, it's subtle, and I have to look for it. I'm really good, and I'm sure most of you listening are really good at looking for everything that's going wrong or that isn't working out. And the invitation is to look at what is going well, what is going right. A lot of times with my clients, I'll have them do gratitude journals or what went well today or how was I successful, and not successful in the terms of accomplishment, but because when we're looking for what isn't working, we see more of what isn't working. And when we start looking at what is working, then we see more of what is working. And while this is so obvious when I'm working with my clients, it isn't so obvious when it's myself. So I have to really pay attention. I feel a lot in my body, and that's where my information comes. And it's not surprising that I've had so much challenges physically in my body, because that's where my intuition comes through, is in my body, is in the messaging. Um, there's a lot that came up in the last few weeks, um, with emotions and even just my mental state of mind at points, right? Laying on your back 8 to 10 hours a day and then just getting up and going to bed is not without challenges. I'm not going to lie. And I tend to not, and I thought, oh, I'll read my books and I'll do some journaling and I'll meditate. And none of that really happened because I just didn't have, there was a part of me that I don't know that I would call it depression, but I certainly um, was not super motivated. It took away my motivation. And I realized somebody said to me, I was telling her some of the TV shows that I was watching, and if you really like trash TV, send me a message and I'll give you some really bad ones to watch. Um, but somebody said to me, that affects your mental state. And I was like, you know what? After one day of watching whatever really bad documentary I was watching, I thought, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I'm still, and I love watching these things because I love watching the human factor. I love seeing how humans show up. That's why I love the work that I do. But some of these were dark. And I was already feeling a little oomph. So it affected me emotionally. And I also, my body wasn't moving, right? We need to move our bodies to move the energy. So things got stuck and stagnant. This week, like I said, I'm back to work, if you will. I hate to call it work because I love what I do. So it feels like I'm back to fun. Um, but I also did a 5 day fasting. It's called a mimic fasting mimic or something like that. It mimics fasting. It basically mimics what a water fast does with minimal food. There is some food involved. If you've ever heard of Prolon, you can go check them out. But I did that for 5 days this week. So it kind of was a beautiful reset as I stepped back into my work. And I took some time and I allowed for the slowness of easing back in. One of the things that I recognize and I am giving myself pats on the back for is the fact that I was able to make decisions and not push through. When I fractured the elbow, um, I had to make some decisions, and it was really easy or easier than I would have expected for me to decide to actually put things on hold and reach out to people and say, I know we've recorded your podcast, but this has to go on hold. And I'm going to be dropping them over the next few weeks. So be ready for more things. And then when I was on this machine, it's called a CPM machine. Go look it up. It's like this contraption that, yeah, it was a lot of fun. But when I was on my CPM machine, I had to make another decision because I saw clients because I would take a break and I could sit at my desk for an hour, but 8 to 10 hours a day, I had to be on this machine. I think out of 3 weeks, there were probably only 2 days that I did less than 6 hours. I would say my average was somewhere between 6 and 9 hours. Um, and doing my exercises and going to I'm in PT 3 times a week, right? So recognize the older version of me wouldn't have been able to do that because that busyness that I needed to keep going, the busyness was hiding what I was feeling. And now that I allow myself to feel the feelings, I'm not saying I love it. I don't even like it most days, but they're there. And I'm really working on not pushing them aside. I even noticed this morning that the surrender didn't, when I was doing my meditations and my journaling, I was expecting to have that sense of surrender and peace that I had yesterday, and it wasn't there. I felt some of that anxiousness. It came back, and it's just information. I noticed it without judgment, but it didn't force me to get up and run to my desk to start working. I still did the things that I wanted to do this morning. And that's what healing looks like. It's baby steps. And even I forget that sometimes, especially when you're in it. When I get on the other side of it, I go, oh, yeah, that's what that was here to teach me. Okay. Yep, I get it. And the deeper you do work, I think sometimes the harder it is to actually see or to move through it. Somebody said to me the other day, what's going on? I said, I feel like I've been in this place for years because there's a lot of stuff that's been coming up, a lot of patterns, old stuff that's been coming up lately. And I can see it. because we can't fix the patterns that we create with the same mindset that we created it. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have therapists. That's why we have healers. We can't do this work ourselves. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care if you're a coach. I don't care if you're a therapist. I don't care if you're a healer. You can't do the work yourself. You really can't. And the reason you can't is because you can't, so I can see all my parts and pieces, but I haven't been able to connect the dots. And I would say in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten a little closer. I'm like, oh, okay, here's another pattern. And I know when I get on the other side of this, it's going to be like, it's not going to be, again, the angels singing, which I really want the angels singing. And it's not going to be the angels singing. It's going to be like, take a deep breath. Okay, what's the next lesson? Right? And I'm curious if you can relate to this. I would love to hear from you because when I'm working with my clients, I can see in them the huge shifts. Just like how I know my coaches and therapists and healers see it in me, and I don't always see it in me, right? Because it isn't these huge wah, that was the angel singing, in case you were wondering. It's not that huge, beautiful nirvana. It is these small incremental changes. My body has been asking me to listen for a really long time, and I ignored it for a really long time. And now that I'm listening, it's got a lot to say. And I have, I still have a lot more work to do. And that's okay, because I have a lot of tools. And the last few months has really given me permission to stop forcing, to slow down, to look at things differently, to choose differently. And I'm by no means perfect at any of this because I'm still in it at times. I'm still stuck. There's so many different layers of stuckness. And the beauty is I have the awareness of it. I can see it. 5, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, lifetimes ago, I didn't even know I was stuck, so I couldn't get unstuck. Knowing that I'm stuck gives me the capacity and the opportunity to actually break out of that stuckness. And I don't think the pause was a punishment, although I will tell you when I fell, I was pissed because I made choices that I thought were the right choice, and they were the right choices for me. The day that when I was at an event, I was at a charcuterie board workshop, and I almost didn't go because I had so much work to do. And I thought I should just stay home and work through the night. My husband was out for the night. I thought, let me just stay and work. And I paused and I said, Francine, you teach women that it's not all about work. You teach them to be more and do less. And fun is one of my top values. Go have fun. So I did. And I was walking out of the building and I had had such a great night with some amazing women. And hypervigilance is something I in the past have been really good at. I've lived in hypervigilance and it's still there, but it's quieter. And I wasn't hypervigilance when I was walking out of a building while it was lightly snowing and it was cold. It was winter. It was February here in New England. And I fell. So I thought, this feels like punishment. I did something fun and I wasn't hyper vigilant. The two things that I have done to shift and change. And I was like, what was that? And it took me a while to actually sit with it. I was pissed. I had to sit with the anger of why is, and the victimy of why is this happening to me? And I realized it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was also some guidance because where I was going for physical therapy before, um, for my other knee surgeries and for when I had my hip done, while I loved them, I thought they were great. They see multiple clients at the same time. Well, I had to go someplace different for occupational therapy. They also do physical therapy and they only see one patient at a time. And that's making a difference in my recovery. So there was a gift in falling. It took me a few months to recognize it, but it also is part of my journey. I knew it was part of my journey, but I like to know why. Why is this happening? What's this lesson? What is this here to show me? What is this here to teach me? Which I sometimes we don't know the answers because what it was trying to show me, what I couldn't hear, was that it was preparing me for what was next. And sometimes when we're so busy proving, pushing, producing, we can't see the messages, we can't hear the messages. Because what if the thing you're resisting the most is actually the gateway into the next version of you? And I do feel like that's what I have been experiencing over the last few months and even the last few years, because I've had to take a lot of downtime. And when you're working in corporate, you have all your sick time, you have short-term disability, you have FMLA, right? You're going to get paid and all the things. When you're self-employed, that shit doesn't, nope, you are your business, right? Entrepreneurs can sometimes work 7 days a week. And it's about breaking patterns. It's about breaking cycles. And I'm still, we're all going to be a work in progress, always. And if you ever have a coach, healer, therapist tell you they've done all their work, run far, run fast, find someone else. Because with each layer brings the next layer for us to work on. And that's why I want to share a program it starts Monday. Today's Saturday. You're going to get this podcast if you listen to it before Monday. Even if you listen to it after Monday, you can still join. But I have a program starting on Monday. If you are ready to break your cycle, this 4 week experience, it's actually 4 sessions over the course of 5 weeks. It's designed to help clear your patterns, your limiting beliefs, and some energetic imprints that have been holding you back. We're going to do some EFT, which is tapping. We're going to do some group coaching, some energetic codes, and you're going to shift from feeling stuck to feeling empowered, aligned, and ready to move forward. We're going to look at the patterns that keep you stuck: perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, and how those are keeping you in these vicious cycles. So if you're ready to move from where you currently are to the version of yourself that you want to be, go to foreverchangecoaching.com, click on the link, get out of your own way, and sign up. I kept the price extremely low because I don't want women to have the excuse that they can't afford it. The price will go up the next time I run this. But for now, it feels right at $222 for this program. But I'm telling you, I am so excited for module one. I finished the module this week, and I can't wait to have these women that have already signed up experience it. All the information will be in the show notes, but if you're interested, feel free to go to the website and sign up. Thank you for hanging in here with Effin' Fridays with Francine. Look for the new episodes coming up. I have talked to some amazing guests, and I'm really excited to start dropping their episodes in the next couple. The next one will drop next week, and then every other week is when they drop, so they're bi-weekly. And I've got they're going to be dropping for a while. So thank you for staying in tune. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, share, do all the things, and go have an effing Saturday.